Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go! First story. I punched the bully/groper in front of my teacher, and she did not mind. Let me start by saying that I went to a Mexican high school. One of the bad ones. It was a technical school, so I chose a course about computers. The place was such a mess that it was either that or a food-related course. So it wasn't much of a choice. Anyway, my class was divided by nerds and idiots. But like jockey-buffed idiot bullies. It was a pretty tense class, especially since I was very much a nerd. On the bus ride home one day, I had an argument with my girlfriend, so we ended up not talking to each other. I noticed one guy from our class was staring at us. He was one of the more annoying bullies. And most of my friends had already had to trade blows with him before, so I just glared at him and forgot about him. I soon got to my stop and left the bus, without saying goodbye to my girlfriend. Later, my girlfriend sends me a message telling me that she doesn't want me to get angry or get in trouble. I ask her what happened and she hesitantly tells me the guy sat with her the moment I left. Asked her if she wouldn't rather have him as her boyfriend, and since she was too scared and shy to tell him anything else and to go away, he began groping her leg for a while until the bus reached her stop and she left. I'm pretty angry at that moment. The next day I see the guy at school, but I don't say a word to him. Fights were pretty common at that place, but I at least wanted to do it outside, after school, so all I can do is glare at him all day and wait. I almost made it. 5 minutes left to leave school, and he apparently snaps. He couldn't take me staring daggers at him all day long and got right up to my face, talked trash and shoved me. Now I know that a shove in that context means either a fight or chicken out, and I wasn't going to chicken out. I might be a nerd, but I'm pretty tall and thick, so his shove doesn't even budge me in. I punch him right in the face. I aimed for his nose, but he managed to crouch at the last second. I still hit him right in the forehead, and he landed right on his back. I'm about to kick him in the face, but one of my friends stops me. She's begging me to stop, and I realize the teacher's still in the classroom. I take my stuff and leave with my girlfriend, and pretty much the entire class congratulates me. Somebody even told me I did something everybody had wanted to do for a while now. I hear the jerk behind me shouting that my girlfriend is a liar. I turn around just in time to see my teacher drag him by the arm to the principal's office. This little jerk tries to explain that I punched him for no reason, and my teacher tells him to shut up and that she's fed up with him. A couple of weeks later, he drops out of school. Some months later, I read in a newspaper that he and his buddies were arrested for driving under the influence, carrying loaded weapons, and trying to bribe the cops that arrested them. Turns out they were trying to threaten a wealthy ranch owner or something. Good riddance, I say. This was a couple of years back. Presently, I still occasionally see him in the street. I look directly at him every time, and not once has he been able to look back. Next story. Punching my district inspector in the solar plexus. Part 1. When I was a 15-year-old girl, I worked at a major donut shop chain in Canada. Yes, you know the one. There are more of these shops than McDonald's there. Everyone goes there, it's like a cult. I used to work at a corporate store that trained new franchisees and retrained old ones that were cutting corners. Yikes! In addition to our regular operations, I used to train franchisees how to operate the back-end bacon shift from 4 a.m. until noon. I loved my work. I loved meeting new people and I loved showing them the process. I loved my company and I loved my 2 managers. It was great, except when it came to my inspector. Let's call her Mary. Mary was a district inspector and she had it in for all of us there. Our staff would see her red car in the parking lot and scramble to tidy up. She loved coming in when she was slammed. With a line up out of the door, tables needing to be cleared, donuts flying out the racks and everyone just trying to keep up. Never mind taking your break. People used to freak when they saw her car pull up. She was slim with big curly orange hair and a mean streak. She was an in-house inspector that worked for a corporation and she seemed to really enjoy her job, marking faults and handing her reports to our managers for them to file. She enjoyed her work until she came into the kitchen when I was working, which was most days. She hated it when I worked. Because I had to train people all the time, I had to keep a clean kitchen with everything stocked. Because it needed to be ready for the next shift where I trained people. It was also in great shape because the cleaning and refilling and prepping and operating the kitchen to code was what I did with the franchisees while training them. It more or less took care of itself. It also did not hurt that I was a perfectionist. Mary did not seem to like that at all. She would find an excuse to dock me points. I think she was a little obsessed with it. She would go to great lengths to catch me screwing up. Even my managers, who were regularly rotated through other stores, felt bad for me. They said they have never seen that happen to anyone else like that. Mary would get irritated when she couldn't find much to report, but because she never wanted to give a perfect pass, oh, she would look. She would pull out heavy, old out-of-circulation mixers from the bottom shelves and run her hands along the back to check for dust. Ha! Mary! I wiped that crap on the regular. It must have made her blood boil. She would always come down to docking me points for my shoes. My shoes were dark navy, not black, and therefore were not uniform compliant. I couldn't afford to buy work shoes, making minimum wage and all. Every time she visited, she would condescendingly point them out, tell me how I should know better, imply that I'm lucky she didn't pursue it, dock me the points, and drop off the paperwork to my managers with a smug smile. Bonus if she could find a cobweb that would be in the report too. I hated her. She almost brought me to tears when she'd do this. She knew how proud I was and how seriously I took my job. She just couldn't let me have that. I was also so confused by it because I had had no negative history with her. I really took it personally. At the time, I was also the type of person that would beat myself up over things and was really critical of myself. So this put a lot of fuel on the fire. Maybe she felt I would make her look bad if she gave a perfect score. I will never know. Part 2. I had been taking Taekwondo at that time. I had an athletic background when I initially started, so I advanced quickly and was competing quite early for my build level. During class we would do our warm-ups, patterns and finish by partnering up and practicing holds, throws, self-defense, sparring and so on. Occasionally when new students wanted to try class, this is where they would join so that they could interact with other students. We did not rub our necks to see who came in. Our instructor would just announce it and choose someone to pair with them. A lot of students did not like partnering with newbies because it was boring. Although I would have rather trained with someone more advanced than me, I did not mind being patient with a new student. And my instructor welcomed Mary to the class and directed me to pair up with her. I turned around and oh heck, there she was. I think we both had the same thought. Oh my god, is this really happening right now? This is totally happening right now, huh? It was surreal, like I was dreaming. I just kept staring at her and thinking blankly, what the heck? During class I got to show her how to defend against an attack from the rear, where you drop down to lower your center of gravity. Rear elbow strike the assailant in the gut, grab their arm, and use your leverage to flip them over your shoulder and onto the back on the hard ground in front of you. Then kneel on them to pin them while striking them in the solar plexus. I demonstrated that to her over and over and over. I might also add that I killed her with kindness while doing so. Not just because it was so enjoyable to witness, but because I'm not the type to be mean in that situation anyway. I encouraged her to demonstrate on me too, and would correct her and have her try again. Which, let's be honest, was completely ineffective because she didn't know what she was doing. I would say things like, "Almost got it, Mary. You just need to lower yourself like this, so you can flip the attacker like this. Wham! On her back again." That was a good 30 minutes, but I guarantee it felt longer for her. The day after I ran into work screaming, "You will never believe what happened last night," my managers were giddy like children. It was high fives all around. Mary came back for a few more classes, which was shocking. My instructor paired us every time. I think he saw how enthusiastic and patient I was with her and wanted to foster that relationship. Every morning after Taekwondo, my managers would want the updates immediately. "How was it? Tell me all about it. What did you get to do to her this time? Do an impression of her. Show me what her face was like." And stuff like that. Mary dropped out after about 4 weeks, maybe less. It was a grand effort, Mary. I rarely even saw her at my work anymore. I think she used to time her visits around my shift or my break. Sometimes I thought I saw her car driving out of the parking lot and my managers would tell me that yes, that was her, and my report would be just left on a table in the back. She never docked points on me again. That whole thing was just perfect. Next story. I recruited an unwitting army to annoy a jerk. Back in the early 90s, my friend, I'll call him Lou, was selling his RX-7 via an ad in the old print Auto Trader. It came out every Thursday, so that first weekend was critical for sales. The very first guy that came to see it on Saturday said he wanted to buy it after driving it. Of course, he had to finance, so they couldn't finish the sale during the weekend. Lou was worried about losing all the bites from the new ad, so he asked for a deposit of $500 and the guy wrote a check. Lou told the rest of the callers that weekend that it was sold and unfortunately did not ask for their numbers in case it fell through. This story predates caller ID availability in my area by a couple of years, so those leads were gone. As you surely expect by now, the guy flakes on Monday and Lou deposits the check, and the payment stopped. Big surprise. Sitting around my apartment, we schemed revenge. But all we had to go on was the check. Lucky for karma, there was a phone number printed on it. Our first idea was trying a little program to dial his number repeatedly from my modem. But that would be easily stopped and probably get us in a direct trouble. Then Lou got a page from his work. This was back in the one-way pager days. You call the pager's dedicated phone number, and it sounds a tone. Then you punch digits for the number you want to be sent to the pager. That person whose the pager receives a number you entered then presumably calls it. Everyone who was a pager made sure that people who needed to get a hold of them had the number for their pager. You'd see pager numbers in print and TV ads all the time for various services. Boom. Angelic choir sings. Heavenly lights goes off. Lou's pager number and my pager number had the same prefix. Middle 3 digits. What if we randomly dial numbers with that prefix and pitch them all to this guy's number? So we order a pizza, open some beers and start looking through the yellow pages at locksmiths and tow truck services to find more pager prefixes. We wind up with a dozen or so. After that, it's half an hour of coding in your old Borland C++, and I put together a program that would cycle through our list of known prefixes and add a random final 4 digits to get a random pager. It calls a pager's number, then dials this jerk's number and throws a 911 suffix on there for good measure, which is something people with pagers understood to indicate an emergency of some kind. We start eating the pizza and let it fly. I was very picky about my devices, so my modem was a US robotics courier. You could set an S register to control how long it would sound each tone when dialing. Uber nerds like myself would keep tinkering with that to get it as fast as possible while still being recognized by the phone service. It was very fast. I swag it could run through 4 pages per minute. So this guy will get 240 calls per hour. We just watched it run and laughed very hard. We realized pretty early on that we didn't really know if it was working, so we wandered down to the 7-Eleven and called him from a payphone, just in case he could somehow trace it or the poo-poo were on the case and watching. A man answered and I said hello. I got a page at this number. I heard an audible sigh and then he just hung up. Gold. We ended up running it for a few hours, then let it go quiet for a few days. Then we scheduled it to start dialing in the middle of the night every few days. Plus, we'd fired it up by hand randomly whenever we had a party. We checked again from the 7-Eleven after a week and it went to an answering machine, which did the rabbit tone at the end of the greeting to indicate that tape was full. We reasoned that the line was still ringing anyway, so we kept at it for another month or so. Eventually, we got the disconnected warning when we made one of our regular checkups. I'm sure he just changed the number. I like to think about that guy answering the phone after a few days of silence when we started it up. I can vividly imagine his response at the "did someone page me to this number" as he slams the phone down and then it rings again a few seconds later. Or of course coming home from work and having an answering machine full of random people asking about being paged. And yeah, we annoyed several thousand people into calling this guy by the end. But each of those people was only put out for a single call. A cost, yes, but a necessary one for justice. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.